choose objectives that scare you. It means it's probably big enough. I think if you think of something and you're like, oh, that's easy, I can do that, then it means, is it big enough? I was scared for the triple, until the day we did it, I wasn't sure.
If you're enjoying the show and want to take the next step in your training, join our newsletter and receive a free 4-week sample training plan. Head on over to uphillathlete.com/letsgo, and once you sign up, you'll instantly get a link to try out some of our most popular training plans. It's a great way to get a feel for how we train our athletes for big mountain goals. Check it out at uphillathlete.com/letsgo. That's uphillathlete.com/LETSGO.
Welcome to the Uphill Athlete Podcast. My name is Alyssa Clark, and I will be your host today. On June 8th, Laura Pineau, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, or Pino?
Yeah, perfect.
Pino, okay. And Kate Kelleghan became the first woman to complete the Yosemite Triple Crown in under 24 hours. A monumental feat of endurance, Kate and Laura set a new standard for women in climbing, and I'm so honored to have Laura with me today. Laura, also known as Mademoiselle Fissure, which I want to get into, is a French professional climber for La Sportiva, among Coros and a few other companies, and also is a climbing instructor from my research, and just an all-around badass. So, Laura, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to talk to you today.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to hear about Mademoiselle Fissure. Where did that come from? I have a guess, but I'd love to hear about that nickname.
Yeah, this is a funny nickname that I chose last November because I was working on this hard crack in Valeorco, Green Spit in Italy, and I was climbing with my friend Paolo, who was Italian, and he was also speaking a little bit of French and kept saying, "Oh, mademoiselle, mademoiselle." And then one day, I don't know how it came out, he said Mademoiselle Fissure. And I was like, oh, that sounds really great. It's a mix of crack, which I love. And then it's a bit of French, mademoiselle. So that's how I was like, oh, that's a cool nickname. Let's just use this as a funny way to describe myself and where I want to go. Because I'm definitely a crack addict. I love climbing cracks all around the world. And this is definitely a new passion of mine that I've had over the past 2 years. And I thought this was just a cool nickname to have.
Oh, I love that. Well, I mean, the way that I was kind of first introduced to you is that my husband also loves crack climbing and had reached out to you of like, hey, I'm going to be in Chamonix. A, do you want to climb? And B, like any cracks, because he was so excited that you love to crack climb. And I guess that's not as common for French climbers to be kind of as much interested in the crack side of things.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I think for French climbers, we have world-class limestone sport climbing all over our country, and we have amazing bouldering as well. So I think, most people, if you live outside of the Alps and you're not really close to Chamonix that has beautiful and amazing cracks, then you're definitely way more exposed to bouldering gyms and to limestone sport climbing. So that's how I started climbing. I started actually above the water on limestone, deep water soloing, but then I was exposed to limestone sport climbing more, and that's what I've had most experiences on, especially as sport climbing. And then I did my college degree in the US. And then after my college degree, I had a 1-year work visa. And that's when I bought a van, worked remotely, traveled all over the US until I arrived in Moab. And that's where I met this professional climber, Brittany Gores, who spent time showing me how to climb cracks and really was an amazing mentor to me on how to place gear, how to fall on it, how to be comfortable. Because everyone has a vision of track climbing as something, it's so scary, it's so dangerous. Everyone rips gear all the time. And it's so not true. And there's so many ways of learning track climbing really safely. You just need, I think, to find a really good mentor, and someone who will take time to show you slowly how to do it and who won't pressure you to go on harder climb than what your level is in a way. And I thought Brittany was amazing to me for that. And, sometimes I'm trying to teach other people how to crack climb and really take time with them and be like, okay, like, remember when you were a beginner, hand jams were hurting your hands. So you can't climb as much as you can climb now 2 years after learning how to crack climb. And yeah, when your husband reached out, it was so funny because I was like, oh, amazing, other people who love cracks. And whenever I'm traveling around, I'm always so happy to, meet other crack lovers and go climb with new people, because I think that's what makes the climbing community so special.
It definitely does. And I mean, you've already jumped into a couple of questions, but I was curious well, first of all, deep water soloing, that's not something that everyone's like, yeah, I just started deep water soloing, got right into it. So how did you learn about climbing? Was it in your family? Like, what was your background as a child?
Yeah. It was definitely not in my family. So when I was younger, I did, 7 years of tennis, probably to spend time with my dad and do the same thing as my dad. And then I switched to boxing, English boxing for 2 years, which my mom kind of got me into it because she knew I was not liking tennis anymore and was like, okay, we got to find a new sport. So did boxing. And then one summer, I used to go to this place in my hometown called Saint-Père in Toulon. And this is a place where most teenagers go and they cliff jump or they go swim, they hang out with their friends. It's like paradise for summer location. It's really a gorgeous place. And one day I met this climber, Fred, and he was like, hey, like, if you want to go climb, come, I'll show you how to climb and I'll show you around. So for 4 hours, he took me along the coast and showed me all the different sections, where to put my hands, explained me the movements. And then every day I was going back to do the sections I was falling into the water and I couldn't do. And I was just obsessed with like, okay, one more moves, two more moves. I know I can do it. I'm so close. And then, I was not great at it. And even him, he was like, oh, like, she's not good at it. Like, where is she going to go? That's what he told me years after. He was like, oh yeah, you were not really great those first sessions. But of course, who's great on session number one above the water climbing? It's not an easy discipline, and it's pretty scary to be high above the water. And then another friend was like, okay, if you want to get stronger and come back to do more next year, you should go in a bouldering gym. And then that's how I signed up in a bouldering gym in September after the summer, and I was hooked and then never stopped since then.
That's amazing. Wow. I mean, that's such a fun, I've always wanted to deep water solo. I think it sounds amazing, especially we used to live in Hawaii for a little bit. Like,
oh, nice.
Yeah. So
you should go Mallorca. I think Mallorca.
Oh, okay.
No better place for deep water soloing. Okay. Mallorca is beautiful, amazing, and you can just rent an apartment in one of those little cities, and then you walk a little bit, and there's so many cracks for deep water soloing, and so many that are really close to the water. You see all those big cliffs on media that are super high, 15, 20 meters, where most people wrap into it and practice on the rope before even doing it. But then you have all those other little cracks that are super close to the water, super safe, and just an amazing summer vacation. Like when you do a break from running, I think it's perfect location for you to go and deep water solo for sure.
Awesome. Yes, high on the list. Do you think that there is something, because with deep water soloing, I've heard this said before, that there is kind of this desire not to fall because you have, like, everything gets wet, you kind of have to restart. It's a lot more effort than, say, taking on a top rope or falling off a sport climb or something. Do you think that perhaps that foundation maybe influenced your speed climbing later, where it's like, yeah, we just don't really fall. It's not really a thing.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. I would say, so me personally as a climber, I've always loved challenges that are super scary. I don't know why yet, and I'm not sure I totally understand why I'm chasing those scary objectives, but I did the first female ascent of the roof of Saint-Père, which is like 13B roof climbing that's maybe 40 feet above the water, and you are upside down. So your back is fully horizontal when you're climbing. And deep water soloing is extremely scary because if you fall on your back, you could just, like have holes in your lungs or injure yourself really badly. And so deep water soloing, you never go, and I think it's maybe same mentality with speed climbing. You never go 100% to your abilities, or at least that's how I was doing it. You always go all the way to like 95. And when you feel like you're close to falling and you're going to let go, then suddenly you let loose your feet just to be straight up hanging. And then you fall controlled in a controlled manner. You never want to fall unexpected. I mean, some climbers do, at the top elite level where they just do a huge dyno and sometimes fall on their backs and they're fine depending on how high they are. But with deep water soloing, you want to be super cautious on how you're falling into the water and how you're landing. And I think that's exactly the same with speed climbing. I never went 100% speed climbing. I was maybe out of breath and my cardio was very high. But in terms of climbing movement and how I was in control, I was never 100%. I was always, at 90%. And that, okay, if you get too tired or you have cramps or you're starting to get tired, how I was on the triple, on the boot, for instance, which is really overhanging crack, then I just place more gear to be, a bit more cautious. But you never go 100% or above your limits. You always want to stay a little under just so you keep the safety margins, in reason, and you want to be safe.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. Yeah, it's honestly, it's pretty similar with ultras. At least for half or 3/4, you are kind of like constantly playing with that effort level, being like, okay, if I just like absolutely send it, if I go to 100, I am going to be walking or like sitting or dropping from this race. So you really do have to play with that effort level a lot. But my other kind of question about background. So where did you go to school in the US and what made you want to come over here for school?
Yeah, so I think when I was 17, I went to see someone to help me understand what my work skills were and, what kind of school I should do because I wasn't sure. I knew I wanted to go into a business school, but I was a bit scared. I wanted to do this with regards to my dad in a lot of ways. I had done tennis because of this. So I was like, okay, I want to make sure it's not for the bad reason that I want to go do that. And I think when I was 17, I realized, oh, you know what? I want to do my studies in English and I want to have an international experiences. Either it's in Europe, in another country, or even abroad further. And that's when this woman really helped me find different schools abroad, like some in Canada, some the one I went to in the US, some in Italy, some I think one was in the UK as well. And the school I chose was called Holt, and it's because this school had a dual degree that would be valid in Europe and in the US. So that was kind of important for me to have. I mean,
Yeah.
not that it does matter in the future when you go in the work world. I don't even think they look at, oh, is it valid in Europe or in the US? But for me, it kind of had an importance. And I was going to study with 100 different nationalities of students. And I think that's what really attracted me. I wanted really the global influence and to, study with other people from different culture. And that's when I really learned that you don't talk the same way to a Brazilian that you're going to talk to a Japanese friend, that you're going to talk to a European friend or French friend. We all interact very differently. And that taught me a lot about the world and how to interact with other people in a lot of different ways. And then after I had this 1 year work visa, and that's when I lived in a van for summer, and I was like, oh, you know what? I really do love van life. So I'm not going to rent an apartment in September, and I'm going to keep living in the life and keep being next to beautiful climbing places. And I really perfected my art for outdoor climbing, and I found cracks where I was like, wow, I'm a beginner again. After 4 years of climbing, being a total beginner again and a full Gambi was just amazing because you rediscover the sport. You get to learn new movements, new techniques. And I'm someone who's in love with learning new things, new processes, new ways of climbing, who loves learning from other people. Like I learned from Kate how to speed climb. I had almost zero climbing experience. So everything she taught me, I listened to it, I applied it. And then eventually you make your own little sauce at what you prefer doing because everyone has different ways of doing it. But I just love all those new learnings experiences.
I brought up Vitali when we were talking before we started recording, and he's so similar. I mean, he's just really invested in the learning. He's so humble and just like always thinks he has more to learn, which we all do. I mean, I said about I've been in the trail running space for about 10 years now. And I'm like, I'm just
Wow.
getting going. I'm like just learning. Yeah. So I think keeping that curiosity and that passion for new endeavors, and climbing is so exciting because there's so many pieces to it. There's so many avenues you can explore. But what drew you? Was it just like Yosemite is the Mecca, I'm going to end up there someday? Or like what drew you to Yosemite eventually?
Yeah, so my first Yosemite experience was when I did my first 2 years. I was studying in San Francisco. And so I had a boyfriend back then who was in love with Yosemite and who took me to Yosemite. And that's when I really did my first multi pitch. I did my first trad lead, but that first trad lead did not go as well because back then I was still 19 years old and I was very reckless, very impatient climber and person in general. And I was like, okay, just show me the gear. Okay, that's how it's done. Okay, let's go climb. I'm ready to lead. And my boyfriend was like, no, I think you should take time and we should go slow. And I was like, no, don't worry. I got it. Let's go. And then I got really scared on Munginella, which is a 5'8", one of the easiest climb in the valley, and there was so much rope drag. I wasn't sure of any of the gear. I felt so scared. And since then I hadn't trad climb anymore, but I knew the first time I saw a Capitan that I was going to climb it one day. I didn't know when or how much it would take, but already back then I wanted to climb it. It's just that life kind of went in the way. I got scared on this first track climbing experience, which didn't leave it definitely didn't leave a good positive memory in my mind. So that's why maybe I didn't really go back to. But I was also really focused on studies, and I couldn't just go every weekend to Yosemite to climb there. And that's when I was more training indoors, and that was just easier for me. But then when I learned how to track climb again in Utah, I always had in my mind, okay, if I learn how to track climb, I need to go back to Yosemite and I need to climb El Capitan. And Brittany, the one who actually showed me how to track climb and who was my track climbing mentor, she is also the person who told me, Laura, you can totally go do free rider on El Capitan. Like you have the level, go do it. And so when I went back, so I learned how to track climb, I think in September 2022, and I went for my first real Yosemite season in April 2023. And when I arrived, I could barely climb 5'9", 5'10" without being so scared on my first week. And that's when I suddenly became so humble. And I was like, okay, granite climbing is a whole new world. I had never climbed on it. I'm arriving in Yosemite Valley. It's really sandbag, old school, slippery granite, slippery granite. So I was like, okay, I think it's going to take me a bit longer than just one season to climb El Capitan. And so I took this first 2-3 weeks to learn how to haul, learn how to jug on a rope, because I had switched my objective from freerider to the nose, because I'm like, okay, there's a reason why everyone starts with the nose, it's because it's maybe the easiest big wall and a great one to learn how to do it. And so I didn't have a partner to do it. I went around the valley, asked people, and I met this Quebecois guy from Quebec, Gab, and he was as psyched as I was. He just had 6 days left and I had 2 weeks left, and we've never climbed together, but we're like, you know what, let's just give it a shot. We'll go to the first 4 pitches, and if we climb well, if we do it, then we'll keep going the next day. And the first 4 pitches, we did them in 4 or 5 hours, which is pretty decent pace. We were excited, and so we kept going, and we had 2 amazing days of climbing. He was one of the best climbing partners I've ever had. He was so patient, so nice, so sweet. And I felt like he was 80% ready for that big wall. I was 80% ready. And then we kind of combined and shared skills that we had developed over the past few weeks in Yosemite and kind of just made it work until we arrived to Peach, maybe 15, 16, and 2 Italians wrapped before us, and we're like, there's a waterfall coming down changing corner. We couldn't keep going, and they had rain jackets, rain pants. They were rappelling so fast, and me and Gab had only one whole bag. We didn't have any rain gear. The next day they were announcing a storm, so that's when we're like, okay, let's back off. We should really go down and wrap down because we're not doing well. And the next day it could have rained, which it did rain. So thank God we went down because we had no rain gear. We would have maybe been fine. But if you're up there and it's super windy and you're wet and you don't have any rain gear, that could be very dangerous and potentially, death issues as well. So I think it was just the best call back then to go down and for me, this was the best big wall experience I've ever had. Like, I felt like I was floating on a cloud after. I had just really found what I was meant for, and I was meant for big walls, and that's what I wanted to do. And even though we didn't top out, which didn't matter, just the whole experience was so amazing. Sleeping up there, looking at a sunrise, looking at the sunset, being on the wall was just such a beautiful moment in life that I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to come back for. And I have much more to learn to then, get to the top of El Capitan.
Oh, I love that. It's such a gift to find the thing you're meant to do. I mean, I don't think I think there's a few people in this world, but not that many who get to experience that where you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is it. I know it. That's amazing. So in I read the climbing article. I will link it in the show notes.
Yes.
Sorry, there's an airplane going over. It's an
No
amazing
worries.
article, and it said that you had gone and done or backed off free rider, had then attempted the nose, and then you went to Squamish and you started like a really intense training program. What did that training program, because uphill we talk a lot about kind of the education, the training behind it, so that's something I really would love to dig into with you. So yeah, what did this training program look like? Was this something that someone was writing for you? Did you come up with it? So yeah, I'd love to hear about kind of, okay, I know I love this, now how am I going to get better?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm not sure exactly what Sam wrote about this, or friend
Oh
Sam,
yeah.
who wrote this amazing article, and we love her for this, and she put so much work into it. But I think I didn't have any training program or a trainer. I just knew what skills I needed to be able to freeride. So I needed to be strong at bouldering. I needed to be able to slab climb on granite, which I was so afraid of. And when you've never done it, it can be super scary because it's just friction. There's no hands. I needed to be good at off-width climbing, which I had never done before. So I practiced off-width. I practiced bouldering to keep a really strong, like to keep strong fingers, because there's a lot of there's the boulder problem, and then you also have the injury corner, which can be a little crimpy, not that much. And then I just needed to climb a lot of cracks to get exposed to more granite climbing. So that summer I just spent time working on those different skills, getting better at them, because I identified my weaknesses. And sometimes in climbing, I'm not sure how other climbers do it, but me, it's like I can spot what I'm bad at. For instance, recently I spot my new one. I'm not a great chimney climber. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not good at chimney. Let's go climb chimneys. Like, let's go do Stick South in Yosemite and get better at it. So it's like, spotting what you're not great at. Because when you want to climb in a place like Yosemite, you need to be a great overall climber. You need to be good at
Yeah.
bouldering moves. You need to be good at crack climbing, finger cracks, off-width cracks, chimney cracks, slab climbing, phase climbing. Like, you have a bit of everything, which is why I love Yosemite, because from the first moments I knew that, oh, if I climb a lot in Yosemite, I know I can be a really good overall climber, and I know I can learn a lot from that place. So I think, I didn't have a very precise training program, but I just really worked on all those separate skills that make you a better crack climber, and that would help me get ready for definitely for freerider.
So when you were, first of all, that is an incredible skill to have, to be able to recognize your weaknesses. I think people are okay at recognizing their weaknesses, but then to dig in and actually work on them is I think the difficult part. But when you were, say, organizing your week, would you be like, hey,
Yes.
this week I'm going to focus, would you cycle through? Would you be like, hey, I'm kind of just working off of partner availability? Like, how did you decide what you were going to focus on? And was it, hey, I'm just going to climb really hard? Or was there, I'm going to focus on volume, I'm going to focus on, finger strength, etc.? Like, how did you manage that or organize that?
I think mostly me, what I've always loved doing, especially when I live in a van and I'm somewhere and I climb outdoor, mostly is to do 2 days on, 1 day off. And usually I would
Okay.
always prioritize my first day on to be maybe like bouldering or a bit like more powerful routes, like harder on the fingers or harder on your body, just so you're ready. And then have a second day where it's more focused on volume. It could be multi-pitch. It could be going at a sport climbing route, like sport climbing crag, and do as many routes as I can. I think that's how I would organize it from what I remember. Right now, I'm trying to definitely get a new climbing coach and have a bit like more organized training, especially after all the speed climbing I've been doing. I think it's important to get back into it in a really smart way, not too hard too soon, because that's always, the issue is when you haven't climbed hard in a long time, you need to really take it slow at the beginning. But back then, I was living in my van, working remotely, climbing 2 days on, 1 day off. And just, depending on partners as well. And one thing I'm like, I really try to always focus is that like sometimes I'm really good at seeing in people what they're good at. For instance, maybe I have my friend Nate. He's an amazing chimney climber. Okay, let's go climb chimneys with him because I know by looking at him climbing, I'm going to learn a lot on movements and how he climbs them. Or let's go climb with my friend Sam, who's an off-width professional and who loves off-width. So I went off-width climbing last fall with her, and I seeing her on that off-width roof climb that we climbed together, I was like, whoa, like she's a wizard. Like, how does she do it? And, learning new skills from her. Or, oh, let's go climb with my friend Jacob Cook. Like, he's an amazing stack climber. And maybe I can learn from him on like how he places his feet. What shoes does he use? So I think if you can really see that in your friends and seeing what they're good at that maybe you're lacking, then it's a great way to get better at it without having to just, it's not just always about strength and getting stronger and always being strong. There's so much about technique in climbing. And I think if you can learn from those other people that are really great at it, I think it's a great way to get better yourself.
I love that. I mean, gosh, you have a lot of wisdom. Seriously. That's huge and so accurate. So you go and you improve on these skills, and
Mm.
then do you go back to Yosemite after
Oh
this?
yes. Yeah, I went back the same
Okay.
fall. Yeah. So I think I
Okay.
spent 2 months in Squamish and I went back in October in Yosemite and just had the best season ever. It was really special. And I think for 2 weeks I climbed in Yosemite. I did a lot of like 511, 512 routes just to get better, see how I was feeling. I kept doing some bouldering sessions and I was doing a lot of V8s that I had not done before. So I was like, okay, like, yeah, my bouldering strength is really good. I feel really good on climbing routes. And then after 2 weeks, with my ex boyfriend Mike, we just packed our bags, packed everything, and then just went for it. And also, I would have never sent Freerider without him. Like he knew so much about wall logistics, how to haul a bag efficiently, how to go up on the ropes, how to just like also get food in your system. At first he was packing the food and he was like, oh, like what food are you taking? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm following you. I don't know what to take. I don't know what's the best. He was like, oh, okay. Like, usually everyone packs their own food. But then he was like, oh, okay, then I guess I'll be packing food too. So he really helped like pack the whole nutrition. He also taught me about like how to drink electrolytes on the wall because electrolytes are key. And I learned a bit more about electrolytes even after him because back then I thought, electrolytes are just good when you're doing something big, but it's so untrue. And I've been drinking electrolytes almost every day, and it's been a game changer for my hydration in general. So I don't think it's just, I don't think it's something extra just for big days. I think even on normal days and normal training days, you just need extra electrolytes. And I'm someone who, after doing a few tests, realized I'm a very like salty sweater, and so I need more salt than the average person as well. And so after doing this, I felt a huge difference in my climbing. And so, having him as a partner for freerider really allowed me to do it because for so many of the pitches that were wide pitches, chimneys, some of them he did, and then I just followed without falling. So it was definitely a big partnership experience. which was really so valuable, and 7 days on the wall, which was crazy. And even the whole way that we strategized, we took a rest day on day 3 after climbing the off-width, the monster off-width, because it takes so much energy out of you that taking a rest day after this was so key for us to be able to keep going and do the boulder problems on day 3, on day 4 or 5. So yeah, big mission up El Capitan. And then that was my first time, freeing a route on El Capitan and topping El Capitan at the same time, because I hadn't topped it out when I just did the nose.
Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, the electrolytes, I think it's so, that's been like my hill to die on this year is the electrolytes, because honestly it affects your food, and for climbers it affects like your skin quality, your salt, it's just, all of it is so important. And to me, it's insane that ultra running is in the same boat, where it wasn't until basically this year or last year that people are like, oh, that matters. Oh, we don't just like randomly drink water. Now it's
really
crazy.
Was it? Is it this early though for ultra running? People weren't doing this before, or not everyone?
No.
Maybe really.
There was no maybe people would do the volume test, but they wouldn't do the salt concentration, and so they wouldn't really know what. You'd have people who were maybe 500 milligrams per liter, and actually they're 1500, and so people would get such issues with their stomachs because your salt is so off. Yeah, so this year Precision has done, I think, an incredible job of making sweat testing accessible, and there's other universities, etc., that will do it. But I have multiple friends and clients that have gotten it done, and it is just eye-opening. We're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that's a huge difference in what we thought. So yeah, I'm glad that
especially when you take it daily. I could feel a huge difference. And now when I don't have any electrolytes and I need to order new ones and I'm missing them for a week, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to survive? I need them, And I've always also being someone who puts extra salt on her food. And my mom has always joked with me, like, stop putting salt on your food. It's salty enough. But I'm like, no, it's not, I've always felt like my body needed more. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm just addicted to salt, I don't know. And then when I talked to, the Scratch Labs, and they explain me, oh no, it's probably because you have a high concentration in salt in this 1 liter of sweat that you need more. And so that's why you've probably been putting more salt, because your body was telling you to do that, which is so interesting. Like your body knows, and sometimes you're just doing things without really understanding why, but you're like, I know it's good for me, so I'm going to do that. And I've always done it. And so now that I'm taking electrolytes, I'm like, oh, it all comes together and makes sense on many levels.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's kind of the old school way of when you come up to an aid station in ultra running, they'll have often like M&Ms or like fruit, or kind of the sweet, and then they'll have pretzels and chips and the salty. And so we always, like, kind of the old school way before we started getting the testing was, whatever you just like reach for without thinking is probably what you need. Like, oh, you're low on sugar, you're going to reach for the sweet. If you're low on salt, you're going to reach for the salty. And so yeah, your body does do, for all the testing and everything, your body does do an incredible job of telling you what it needs. I salt everything as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Our family members who are not quite as like, endurance based are always like, oh, there's so much salt on this. I'm like, I don't even notice. This is great. Probably put a little more.
So funny. No, that's amazing. So yeah, you definitely do understand. And it's same for big walls, and okay, the new thing now that Kate and I discovered a bit more for the triple, because so when we did the triple, we were so focused on nutrition and hydration and how to get like the right nutrition and hydration, especially knowing that we'll be doing a 24-hour day. So how do we prepare all the stomachs, and how do we prepare for the race? So we were climbers, but we train as like ultra runners, or we climb as ultra runners, especially for hydration and nutrition. And so we also put high carbs into all of our big wall waters. So every time we're drinking a water bottle, we had electrolytes in it and high carbs. And me, that was perfect, digested well for Kate too. And then we also I discovered that I like the gummies more, high carb gummies. She liked more the high carb bars, where me bars, I was like, oh, after one, it's so disgusting and I didn't feel like eating much more. But with gummies, I could just pound two, three, four little bags and it was really easy. So it's just like trying to test, like we did a lot of testing on like, okay, like how much high carb do we put in the water? How many scoops of electrolytes? And then how many bags of gummies are we taking? How many bars? Because we're counting them down. For each roll, we had a certain amount. And on the triple, we maybe added 1 or 2 bags just in case to have a bit extra because we wanted to keep eating and more to sustain for that day. But that was really big for us for our strategy to, do well during 24 hours.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, let's just dive into that. First off, though, we've thrown around the term the triple.
Yes.
The triple. Do you mind giving the like Cliff Notes or version of it?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I think the triple is a challenge that was first done by Dean Potter and Timmy O'Neill back in 2001. It was Dean Potter's idea, and he kind of kept it a secret because we interviewed Timmy, so Timmy gave us all the little details about the triple. And since then, 10 other teams of men have done it. And so this challenge consists of climbing Mount Watkins, El Capitan, and Half Dome in Yosemite Valley in California. And this is just a big endurance pit, big endurance challenge because it consists of 71 pitches and we're climbing about like 2,500 meters of elevation gain climbing, but also 2,200 meters of elevation gain hiking. So it's a lot of hiking in between each mountain. We did it supported. So we also had we were driven from Watkins to the base of El Capitan, and then from El Capitan to the base of the Death Slabs to then do Half Dome. And what was crazy about that day is that, we did it fully supported with like 15, 20 people helping us. So we were full on ultra trail challenge. I had never done something like that. For me, it was very new on many, many levels. Even managing 15 to 20 people and making sure everyone is at the right place, right moment, takes the backpack that you need to be taken at the right time, knowing that we're not 100% sure at what time exactly we're going to arrive. Are we going to be ahead of schedule or behind the schedule? It wasn't all sure. So it was a big learning experience, that I can say.
And who made it that like 24 hours is the like official time for it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a Yosemite game that's been here for a long time, where people are like, oh, it's great if you can do a challenge in a day. It means you car to car in a day, and then you go home and then it's done. So I think challenges in Yosemite historically have been done in a day, or it's always been the challenge for the climbers who have been there before us, like women and men. And I also think that all the men who have done it before us, including Dean Potter and Timmy O'Neill, like I think we beat the record of Team and of Dean and Timmy. It's funny because they did in 23:50 or something really close to 24 hours, but still did it in a day. So they were really psyched, but that was really, really close. And so us, the timer, and for the others too, the timer starts when you start climbing on Watkins, because it's a 4-hour hike almost to get to Watkins. So it's so this is your warm up. You already get like 700 meters of elevation. You do already 10 kilometers and you do, 3.5, like 4 hours of hiking to the base of Watkins, where we did it as slow as we could to not get tired. So we were going really slow. And just so you know, on every hiking section, we had friends or family members that were carrying all of our gear. We were not carrying anything on the whole day. Like T-shirt, shorts, maybe extra food, and then nothing else, which felt amazing and was another reason why we were able to do it under 24 hours. And so clock starts when you start climbing on Watkins. Then you climb it, you do an hour hiking, an hour driving, 20-minute walking to the base of the nose. You climb the nose, we did 7 hours, 25. You hike down, we run down the nose to gain time.
I was wondering if you ran.
So we were on schedule, but it's, for us to do it in 24 hours, we were not this fast climbing that it would need to all go perfectly fine. Like it needed to be a perfect day with no issues, no problems, or small ones. If we had a 20-minute issue somewhere, we'd have done above 24 hours. And I think our first goal was to do it in a push, but deep down inside us, we're like, no, we need to do sub 24 like all the other guys before us. We're like, this is the challenge. Those guys did it this way. We need to do it this way too. Like there's no other way. Even though, like story could have been different, but we knew that we needed to have such a perfect organization. We needed to have plan E, A, B, C, and be ready for things going wrong to just, adapt to it and react fast to it and not lose time, which turned out to be real. When we topped out the nose, I felt like we we're going way slower, but we're still on time with the schedule. And so our friend Nick came in, ran down with our gear with us, and he really set a really fast pace. And I think me and Kate were both maybe, is it going, is it gonna ruin the next few hours? Because we still had 8 hours to go. It's not over, 8 or 9 hours to go, so it's the day's not over. But we ran down super fast. Everyone at the cars were like, "Oh, you guys already here? Like, what's happening? Like, it's been 40 minutes since you topped out." And so then we rushed into the car, drove 20 minutes. And then another time where we cut down time was the death lap to get at the base of Half Dome. You have still 1,000 meter of elevation gain, which is not nothing. And we were kind of expecting to do it in 2 hours, but we did it in an hour and 40 minutes. And we were raging. Like, both me and her felt really good hiking, and the boys behind with all of our packs and gear were like, they're gonna kill us. Like they were dying and we were killing them. But I told Kate, we need to let's keep going as fast as we can, because we gaining time for the climbing. In case we're going slow on the climbing, we have this extra 20 minutes. And so we arrived, I think, at 9:20 a.m., 9 hours, 9:20 a.m. And I was like, Kate, in 20 minutes, we start climbing, 9:40, which we did. And it left us 6 hours and 20 minutes to do Half Dome. And the last time we did it in 6 hours and 5 minutes. So we're like, okay, it could go well if we can go as fast as we did. And that's when, I led the first 9 pitches simul climbing with her. She followed. I could tell she was getting tired. I was trying to pull her up to go faster because I was going much faster, but then I was getting stopped by the rope, because when you simul climb, if the second doesn't go as fast as the leader, you cannot go much faster. You need to always kind of go at the same pace. So sometimes she was just going a bit slower, where I was just pulling meter by meter, waiting on a good stance. And then once I had 15, 20 meters of rope, then I would just run up and do the easy climbing to be a bit safer. And then we switch. And when we switched, that's the moment where I was like, oh, I'm really tired. I feel like the night of sleep that we missed is just hitting me. It didn't hit me before, but at maybe 12 that day, it really hit me hard. And that's when Kate took over. She did really well, moved really efficiently. And me, I was falling asleep. And I was like, oh man, I'm falling asleep, slapping myself, trying to stay awake. That was definitely the down moment for me, was this moment. And then we both arrived at the base of the chimneys, where we simul climbed them. And I think we had 3 hours left to get to the top. And I was like, and this is a moment where definitely positive psychology works. And I did this to Kate twice. I did this to her on top of the nose, where she was going a bit slower. I could feel it, but I was like, hey, Kate, I was looking at my watch. I'm like, you're doing so well. You've never been this fast. Keep going. Let's go. We're doing this. You're doing so well. Where I knew she was going slower, but I wasn't going to say it. So I just encouraged her, and I know it gave her a little energy boost. And then, did the same again in the chimneys. I was like, okay, girl, 3 hours left. I'm like, you do this in an hour and a half, and then I take us to the top in an hour and a half. So I was like, everything you get. I'm like, you have 4 pitches left to climb. I'm like, everything you have. And then she raged. She was amazing. She raged the chimneys. She was going so fast that I was simuling behind her. This time she was pulling me up, because she was on easy sections, and I was in the chimneys, struggling to go up. My calves were getting so tired on the chimneys, because it's so physical. And so we kind of made it. I could tell oh, wow, we're going much, much faster than we've ever been on those sections. We go super fast. And then we meet on this big ledge called Big Sandy. And that's when I have about maybe, how many pitches? I think it's 7, 8 pitches to the top, something close to that, 6 to 8. And I had 2 hours left. She did the chimneys in 1 hour, which was incredible. And that's the moment where both of us looked at each other and we're like, oh, we're doing sub 24. We're doing it. If everything goes right, we're doing it. This is the only time we were sure, we had a shot at doing the 24-hour mark, and that we knew there was a shot. And so I went full on hyper focus mode. I went beast mode. I could not see anything else on the side of me. And I was just aiding the zigzag. I aided the fastest I've ever aided. And I told Kate, okay, every 20 minutes, tell me the time just so I know, like, okay, am I fast enough or too slow? Or do I need to, get faster or not? And then I did the zigzags, like those next 2, 3 pitches in 40 minutes. And then thank God ledge and then went up. And then we met on that final pitch almost. I mean, I was a bit higher and then she arrived towards me and we had maybe 30 minutes left for one pitch, and she was like, oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. I was like, okay, Kate, don't get too excited. Like one more pitch. I was like, let me finish it. Like one more, I was like, it's not over till it's over. Like, don't get too excited. And then she was like, okay, just belaying me, like smiling and laughing. And then, I climbed this final pitch. I like run. I fix her and I'm like, okay, Kate, line's fixed. Let's go. And then Kate goes as fast as she can. And then we both touch the anchor, which was a crazy feeling. It was definitely crazy. And what I didn't say too is that we did face 2 storms on that day, which was wild. So we got rained on Watkins at 6 p.m. the day before because the forecast the day before announced 2 beautiful days, a beautiful weekend, sunny, pretty hot, but pretty sunny, maybe like 80 Fahrenheit, something close to that. And as I was climbing on Watkins, suddenly I hear like thunder and I see lightning and I see dark clouds and I'm like, oh boy, now we're in the middle of it. Now it's pretty committing. We kind of need to keep moving. And so I keep climbing and suddenly Kate gets to me because it's her turn to climb and she freaks out a little bit because it starts to drop on us like a little bit of rain. And she has a really scary pitch to do off the belay where it's face climbing. So if the holds are wet, it could be very dangerous and sketchy. And so thanks to the rain, we did our best transition ever. I've never seen Kate transition this fast. She barely arrived at the belay, grabbed gear, and then started climbing. And I was like, oh, wow, that's like a Formula One, like pit stop, like so fast. Like I barely saw her that she was climbing already. And then she passed the scary move and then the rain stopped. But this is definitely a moment where I was like, okay, like Mother Nature, please, no rain, like not today, any day, but not today. Like this is our day, please, like go away, leave us alone. And it did. Like the cloud left and then blue sky came back. And I told Kate, like blue sky is back. We're totally safe. You're totally chilling. Let's keep raging. And she went way faster than she's ever done on Watkins. I could tell like we're moving way faster. And we did like 4 hours, 15 minutes when our previous record was 4:47. So we had cut down 32 minutes. So we were really psyched to start the day with, already some margins and some extra time for what was coming. And then second time, half dome, I'm climbing, I'm taking over at Big Sandy, and then some raindrops come down on me as well. And this is also a moment where we could see the clouds a bit in the back getting darker when in the morning at 9 a.m. it was beautiful and sunny. And another reason why we thought something was wrong is usually for the movie, we were supposed to have 2 videographers hanging down on static ropes. And usually when we arrive on Big Sandy, they should be here already for a while and they weren't there. And we couldn't hear any support crew. We couldn't hear anyone when we should have had like 15, 20 people up there. And we're like, oh, you know what? Maybe something's wrong. I thought maybe a ranger did not let them go through the cables because of the rain. And I was telling myself, yeah, it must be really bad on the other side. But at some point I was like, okay, rain or no rain, storm, no storm, I'm finishing half dome and we need to top out. It's not like you cannot just wrap down from the top. So that's all you can do. So it maybe crossed my mind. I was like, the guys are not here. We're in trouble. Like something must be wrong in the back. We don't see it. Great. Let's keep moving. I was just like, nothing's going to matter. We just keep on climbing. And as soon as we arrived on top, so I took Kate in my arms. She cried. I was so emotional too. It was amazing. And then our friend Jack was here. He let us celebrate for maybe 30 seconds because there were only like 3-4 people and our 2 videographers were there. And then they were like, okay, girls, the electricity is out of control. Like a thunder could fall on us at any moment. We got to get down. And so they were like, drop all your metal gear, drop the rope. So we left it stashed under a rock because it was so scary to have it on us. So we dropped everything. And then we were down on the metal cables, which is not great, but that's all we could do with gloves. So we went down on the cables. And then our whole family members and friends were waiting down at the cables, and then we hugged everyone, and it was a really special moment and really beautiful moment. And definitely I'll cherish that for the rest of my life, because after 24 hours, seeing that everyone, got to the top of Half Dome and made it up there just for us was really amazing.
Oh yeah. No, those moments are just irreplaceable. And what I always, because it's funny, there's a number of trails, and like the PCT and the Appalachian Trail, like they all require a walk out, and I'm always like, how is the walk out when you're just exhausted? Like, how is it getting down Half Dome?
It's not great. It's not great. I mean, me, I had never done it because usually we were going down the death slab, so the face of Half Dome, because it's faster and we would get some gear back, and that's how we would do it on training days. So me, I had never done the long trail on the safe tourist path. It's really long, but I think it's better I didn't know how long it would. But well, I think we were both like falling asleep. I was like, every time I would stop, like my eyes would close. But that's what's great about having that whole support crew with us, is that you just had to, like, follow people and follow them and follow the pace, Yeah. But I think if it was just me and Kate topping out Half Dome and walking down, I would have probably crashed on the ground and slept there for 10 hours, no doubt. I don't think I would have made it down if it was just me and Kate. But, we had such an amazing crew, and sometimes we were taking breaks every 30 minutes or an hour to wait for everyone to come together, and then we'd go down. But let me tell you, after that day, I had the best night of my whole life. I think I slept 14 hours. It was just amazing. Like, that never happens to me, and it was great.
That's awesome, because sometimes the adrenaline is still going so much, and you like wake up being like, I'm on the wall, or like, oh, I'm on the race course. So I'm glad that didn't happen to you.
Yeah, how is it for you? Can you sleep well after a race, or it's rough?
It's rough. It's at least 1 to 2 nights of not sleeping very well. Your body just hurts, and yeah, your cortisol levels are just really high, so it's just hard to like shut your brain off. Your brain's like, you want me to still go? Are you sure? Even though you're so tired. Yeah. So it takes a bit, but
I think it's interesting because my body in a way was not hurting this much, and I think it's just like,
wondering.
I was never in the pain cave, like I said. I was on Half Dome, I was falling asleep, but I was not in pain. My hands were not feeling a bit of pain in my feet, but never to a point where I was like, okay, I have to really push it. Whereas Kate, I think, was in much more pain and really had to be like, okay, pain doesn't matter. I put it on the side, doesn't matter. Let's keep going. Because also we had different pitches of climbing and climb in different ways. Sometimes she was she was pulling like French fring on more gear than I was. I was mostly free climbing and sometimes aiding just a little bit, whereas she was pulling one gear. And so when you have your hands closed like this, it can just, it hurts you a bit more, especially over 24 hours, and depending on how many pitch you do that on. But no, the next day I was not hurt this much. Like, I was a little tired and a little sore, but not this much. I thought it would be way, way worse, which was really interesting and unexpected in a way. I thought it would be worse. And that's why maybe I slept well, because also all that tension from being hyper focused and in such a no fall zone mindset, a hyper focus mode where every move needs to be controlled. I think my body was just like, we can finally like let go the pressure. And what was funny, it's like me, the past like months and a half, I didn't get any periods, like from, I think, overtraining. Like, we're in such an excessive training that I was like, oh, I'm not getting my periods anymore. And then the day after the triple, guess what? I'm getting my periods, which is crazy that the body knows that, like, okay, it's over. We can just relax. No need to train, no need to be in the surviving mindset. And so for me, I thought it was just extremely interesting how the body works and how it knows, okay, training mode, you need to be a warrior. You need to be like, all the energy you have is for that training and that 24-hour day. And then once you're done, it's like, okay, now I can relax. I don't need to be in this crazy warrior mindset or body mode. I don't even know how to call it, which was very interesting,
Yeah, no, it is super interesting. I mean, I'm glad that it came back so quickly, because sometimes it does take the body a little bit to be like, okay, we're safe. Like, we maybe could have a kid tomorrow if felt like it. I'm curious about what some of that training looked like going into it, because it seemed like it was very intense. And was Kate, like, to go back to kind of the question I had about your own training, like, were you collaborating on the training? Was Kate kind of leading it? How did that look in the months going up to the climb?
Yeah, I think both of us had different strategies regarding our sport climbing levels and where we were at. So me, I had a coach back in France who helped me, JB from Toulon. He was really helpful for me because he helped me understand that what I needed to do is that I had like a strength level that was way higher above what I needed for the triple. But what we made sure is that I would do like doubles on 512s, like again and again. So me, I would do gym sessions on ropes that would last for 3, 4 hours where I would just do like 20, 30 pitches of like 511, 512s just to build an endurance that I could just like go again and again and again. And so when I would be on the triple climbing only 510, 511, it's so much under that I can even do way more because probably both of us probably climbed 50 pitches on that day, which is crazy on the triple day. So I think having a crazy amount of endurance was really key for this project. And what we did is that she came in France for 2 weeks where we trained together outdoors because we also wanted to get to know each other as climbing partners
Yeah.
and also just understand each other. Like, how do you react when you're scared? How do you react when you're tired? How do you react just in life in general? Like Mike and Tanner had climbed like for the past 4 or 5 years and are main climbing partners. And most people who did the triple had done like big things together or were best friends or had done a lot of climbing. And me and Kate didn't know each other before last November and had only climbed 3 or 4 days in Yosemite. So we just wanted to build that friendship and that climbing partnership to be able to do such a huge day and such a scary challenge as well. And so she came in France, we trained. Then she went back to the US and I met her in Boulder for 5 weeks where we climbed a lot at the gym together. We trained, we did a lot of like elevation hiking. So me, I trained hiking a lot for that challenge
I
as
was
well.
wondering that. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was training a lot of uphill hiking. So I'm never hiking or never doing that, but I really enjoyed it and it was really amazing. So outside of all this endurance climbing training I was doing, I was not bouldering anymore, just sport climbing indoors, doing double pitches, sometimes outdoors as well. And then I was hiking twice a week, for 2, 3 hours every time just to like build the endurance with the legs as well. And Kate was doing something very similar. And then we also practiced on the naked edge speed record. So Kate had the naked edge speed record in Boulder, and she had talked to me the whole winter. Oh, we gotta go climb the naked edge. It's the best route there. I need to show you it, and you're gonna love it. And so me, I always had my mind, okay, Boulder equals naked edge. I gotta go climb it. And the first time I climbed it with another friend, Matt, not with Kate, and he sandbagged me. Like he didn't place any protections. It was so scary. He linked pitches. Like I was so scared on it. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was telling myself, Kate and Becca did this in 37 minutes. I was like, this is crazy. This is not for me. I was like, no way. And then Kate and I went back together. And I feel like women are such better mentor than men are because they don't sandbag you. Kate was like, okay, I'm going to place a bit more gear for you and I'm going to explain you how to move, like how to do the moves, so she was way more patient with me and such a great mentor. And that's why I was really lucky. And that's why I learned so much about speed climbing because she was so good at explaining it and also giving me time and space to learn it my own way, make my own mistakes, because sometimes just doing the mistakes is what helps you, figure it out and then not do it a second time. Whereas if you never do it, when you're going to do it, you're going to be like, oh, like, what am I doing? I'm not sure. Whereas if you do it, you're like, okay, now I know, do not redo this because of that reason. And so sometimes me, I'm someone who needs to do the mistakes to really understand why you shouldn't do that. And so we did it together and I was like, oh, okay, it's not too bad. It took us 4 hours the first time. Then we went back. It took us 3, then it took us 2, then 1. And then Kate was like, okay, like we're really getting faster. Like we could do it. And then we that one day we're like, okay, let's try to beat the record. And so our strategy for that naked edge was to always do a warm-up lap where we would go first time on the route just really slow. It would take us an hour and 15 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes, just to go slow, figure out the moves, like warming up. And then we would not run down. We would just like hike down the east ledges, like really slowly. And then we would take 30-minute break and then we would really rage. And then this is a moment where you run in your climbing shoes for 200 meters up, you free solo a little bit. I know it's crazy. In TC
That
Pros, full
hurts.
on. It's not too bad. I mean, our shoes were okay comfortable. It's not like, sport climbing shoes where your feet are
Yeah,
really like,
okay. Yeah,
it's not
TC
that
Pros
bad. Like
better.
it's doable. Yeah, and it's not for too long. It's really 100 meters up barely. So it's not that bad. And then you free solo that section. You try to always be really cautious because that's definitely dangerous. And then Kate took over, and then she would do the whole naked edge in one pitch. I would follow her simul climbing, which for us, for the training of the triple, was perfect because that's what we were doing on Half Dome. So the naked edge was a perfect warm up for us to then go to Yosemite. And it's just to get also extra cardio, extra fitness, I think was just perfect. And so she gets to the top, calls the rope. I get to the top, put my shoes on, and then we both sprinting down. And on that day when we tried the record, we missed the record by 10 seconds. And I was second running down. And I could hear like everyone was like, go, go, go. I could hear in a way that like it's gonna be really close and either we're gonna beat it by seconds or not, but I could just tell. And I could barely see anything on the path, like I had such a tunnel vision where I could barely see where my feet were going, and I was in such big hurry and stress. It was crazy. And then we missed it by 10 seconds. I like fell on the bridge, and then we touched the thing, fell on the bridge. And that's when, I look at Kate and she's not smiling. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure we missed it. Otherwise she would be smiling. And she said, yeah, 10 seconds too late. And I'm like, no. And, so many things had gone wrong because we were filming that day and Kate almost lost her microphone. So we did lose 10 seconds with that. And me on top, I had one of my laces. I had a speed laces, but it broke down. So I had to fix it. So it's like 37 minutes, which is nothing. So you kind of redo all those tiny little mistakes that you've done. And you're like, those 10 seconds were everywhere. And we could have been so much faster if everything went perfectly. And so we went home and we thought like we wanted to go to another crag in the afternoon. But then I mentioned to Kate, I'm like, we mentioned it together. I'm not sure exactly anymore. And we said, what if we go back? Like it's 10 a.m. It was 10 a.m. when we went home, or 11. I'm like, what if we go back? Let's maybe try again at 5 p.m. Conditions could be good. And so we rested, ate lunch, took 1 or 2 hours, and then went back to the naked edge. And then we're like, okay, like one more shot. Because also we had seen that the forecast was bad in the next 3 days and we needed to go to Yosemite afterwards. So this was maybe our last shot. So I was like, okay, well, all we got into this last try. And so I felt way more tired than in the morning. I could tell. But then when I'm looking at my watch and I look at my watch and we get to the base and Kate starts climbing. We're 30 seconds ahead of schedule and faster than in the morning. And I'm like, okay, like not too bad. Maybe there's a chance. And so we rage. And then I had made the decision to not bring approach shoes and to run down in my TC Pros. I had tried running down in them and I knew it would work. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not bringing shoes. I'm just going to keep my shoes on. And as soon as I get to the top and tie my knot, I start running. And this was funny because I did not have to like do anything with my shoes. I started running down first because Kate was still like coiling the rope around her when usually she's the first down. She's the first one running down. And so this time I was first. And she had to chase me because whoever was first, the other one is trying to chase her to like go faster because you're trying to chase each other. And I was going so fast that she was way behind. And when you first, it's like less stress because the timer doesn't rely on you. It relies on whoever's behind you. So it's much more chill. So me, when I was running down the stairs, I was looking up at her. I'm like, oh, she's pretty far. I can slow down a little bit and jog a little. I don't need to be like full on 200% sprint. And so I get to the bridge and then we're like, let's go. And then stop the timer and we're just 30 seconds faster, which was really amazing. Like,
Nice.
Yeah, it was just like a really cool, like bonding moment for me and her. And the moment where we're like, okay, like we can really speed climb together and we trust each other. And that really like brought us even closer and gave us just a little bit of confidence to then go into the Yosemite training. And so to maybe answer also your training question, that was a little bit like we derailed a bit to naked edge, but
No, I love that.
Yeah, the way we train in Yosemite, we knew we would not touch, plastic hold or anything, but we just decided to train on each mountain, one by one. So for instance, we would climb the nose first time, maybe took us 13 hours. Then we did 2 or 3 rest days. Usually after the first time, 13 hour, we did 3 rest days. Then we did it again in like 9 hours. Then we did 2 rest days. Then we did it again in maybe like 7 hours 49. And then we're like, okay, it's good enough time for now. Let's move on to Watkins. And I think Watkins is the one that it surprised me how long it took us to go a bit faster, because it took us 4 tries. Because the second time we tried it, it was super cold up there. So sometimes, definitely sometimes, the elements are against you, or you're trying to adapt or adjust depending on what's happening. But every time, that's what we're doing. One big wall, 2, 3 rest days, one big wall. And we arrived maybe April 12th, and we had a bit of rain in April, so we couldn't just climb every day. And we didn't want to be stuck up there in the mountains when it was raining. So when it was raining, we were maybe like sport climbing at a crag or climbing somewhere else, or resting 3 or 4 days sometimes when we needed. And then May is when, like, for 3 weeks nonstop, we are just climbing big walls for sure. And the weather was just perfect. And so we trained first on the nose, then we did Watkins, then we moved on to Half Dome. And Half Dome, it took us only 2 tries to get it from 9 hours to 6 hours, which was great because 6 hour was the goal. And I told Kate, okay, if we can do it in 2 tries, it's way better, because as the season went by, like, your body is just getting way more hammered and tired. And I could feel like our energy level was going down, and we were like digging deeper and deeper in ourselves to keep training this way. And this is when I told Kate, okay, Kate, like me, I'm starting to feel like way more tired. I can tell I'm not recovering as good and as fast as we were in the earlier weeks. I'm like, we need to do one more time on each wall, and then hopefully we hit our PR and we hit the time goals that we had for ourselves. And then we should take a rest week and then just go for it. And when we did this final attempt on each mountain, we did, 6 hours 05 on Half Dome. We're super psyched. We did 4:47 and we wanted sub 5 on Watkins. And then we did 7 hours 05 on the nose when we wanted to do 7 hours. So everything really aligned perfectly. We were so excited about this, and we just decided to take a rest week and then just go for it.
I love that. So what have you found? I mean, you kind of mentioned one thing already with working with a female partner, but how is it a different dynamic of, I mean, both of you have climbed a lot with men, and then Kate was, really hoping to have a female partnership. How has that been different for both of you?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because for our movie, we interviewed Libby Souter, who has the no speed record in 4 hours, I think 4 hours 43 or 47, something like this for the minute. And she said something very interesting that I thought was true for me is sometimes when I climb with stronger male partners, I feel like, okay, if at any moment I'm scared, they can just like take it on and I can rely on them and they can take over, and if I can finish, they can just finish it. Where most of the time I would do my part, but you always have this feeling of like, okay, if you want to give up or if you're too scared, they can just take over. Whereas someone like sometimes with a woman partner, you're like, no, like you got to do your own part. And I think me and Kate were such a strong duo and we had really different skill sets that when combined, we were a perfect team, but we were really 50-50, like I could not have done that without her, or I would have never done it in one season. Speed climbing takes years to understand how it works, all the logistics. And Kate has had years of experience in Yosemite climbing those big walls really fast, which, kept me up to speed and taught me everything she knew in a few weeks. And because I have the skill of memorizing really well and understanding really fast, then I was able to just apply it really fast and combine this with my free climbing skills. It worked out really well. And then if she had someone else who was just speed climbing but not climbing really hard, I don't think they could have done in 24 hours because the free climbing helps you go faster. So I think, combining both of our skill sets, she had so much more climbing experience, French freeing, where me, I didn't have any. So, stepping on a bolt took me a second. When she was like, Laura, step on the bolt. I'm like, what? On the bolt? And then, and then now I have to remind myself now that I'm back to free climbing. No,
Don't
Laura,
step on the bolt.
you can't step on the bolt. You can't grab the jaw. It takes a second to like switch your mindset again. When for 2 months you've just been grabbing whatever you can. It's mostly free climbing, but there's a few times where you grab quick jaws or you put your foot on it. So she knew all the small strategies. She knew like we needed the lightest gear for our rack, for our beaners, which beaners to choose for which moments, because sometimes you need a bigger one or a smaller one, like so many little details that just changes everything. She knew that, okay, we need little water, little food, like we need to be as light as we can. Otherwise, like it could be really complex. And so, all that combined made us a really good team. And we're just like 50-50. And even I think I told her before we went for the trip, I was like, hey, maybe we need to make a plan. What if me or you get super tired on half dome and the other one needs to take over? And so we had talked about this, but we didn't make a plan at all. Like, we didn't explain each other's pitches. Like, we didn't even explain that. So we mentioned it, but then when I arrived after the first 9 pitches on half dome, I realized I was exhausted. And if Kate had told me at this moment, hey, Laura, I'm too tired, you need to take over, I would have probably done it. But like, I was not doing well, like I was extremely tired. So if I had to also carry the whole team, I'm not sure we would have definitely maybe not done 24 hours. We would have maybe done more. And I wasn't sure in that moment I was capable of doing that. But I think each shot, like both of us had a really strong mental, and we're okay to step out in some moments where we saw that we needed help from each other. And that's moments where I encouraged her to go faster. And I was like, you're doing so well. Like, let's keep going. And she did the same with me at the top, and thank God she was like, Laura, like, you're raging, like, keep going. Like, it's amazing what you're doing, So like, supporting each other was really helpful. And I don't think any of us could have maybe, well, I think we could have stepped up for each other and maybe take over each other, but it would have been much slower. And me, I was not doing well. So I was just happy we were at 50-50 and she was able to handle her part and I was able to handle mine.
I mean, that's kind of what I was actually expecting in a way. That's like, it was a much more equal partnership versus, unfortunately, so often I do think it's one of my biggest pet peeves, not pet peeves, but like, it makes me a bit sad when you see a guided group or you see a partnership. And so often I think the woman takes kind of the secondary role or kind of like the back seat. And I want to keep encouraging us not to do it. That's why I'm so excited both of you did it. And it's like what I kind of hope to do with my own climbing and mountaineering, like soloing routes. I do more of like snow things. But yeah, that like, we don't need to be secondary. We don't need to have that in the back of their head. Like, no, equal partnership. So I love that you two had that together and we're just like, yeah, this is the role that I do and I'm going to follow through on it. Completely.
Definitely. No, I think that was a really precious partnership and maybe the most time I've climbed with someone, and the hardest thing I've ever done with another woman too. And it was just amazing to have this partnership. And now I'm like, I'm really seeking to have other experiences like this with other women, other projects, whatever this might be in the future. But I'm like, it's a really special partnership and you really create a special bond. And I know that me and Kate will be climbing on other challenges together, maybe doing, who knows, a bit more speed climbing, or we'll be doing other free climbing objectives together. So it's definitely a bond for life that you create with those kind of moments.
That's awesome. Well, I have 2 last questions if you have time for those. This has been awesome. Okay, perfect.
Please tell me.
So one of the kind of, you've said this, Tanner also said this on the podcast, that speed climbing is one of the riskier, I think, pieces of climbing or kind of like disciplines of climbing. Did you and Kate have a conversation about risk tolerance and managing risk going into the triple and also just in your training?
Yeah, definitely. I think we had multiple conversations on how we wanted the triple to go. And I think we wanted to keep the safety margins as big as we could. And we wanted to make sure that we're both comfortable in the risk we were taking. And sometimes, I told her, hey, I would feel better taking an extra piece of gear for this route or 2 extra pieces of gear for this route because it's going to help me free climb more. I'm going to be less scared and I'm taking less risk. And I think Kate was really, understanding of that and was really okay with that. And there's a few moments on certain routes where she was like, hey, on your first try or 2 tries, you might need more gear, which is okay. But you'll see that after we'll cut it down, which is what happens with speed climbing. You get more comfortable and you need a bit less, which is like a bit less, which is totally okay. But we were definitely on the same page as safety. And we didn't want to be reckless for no reason. And we were never reckless. And if one of us needed something to be certain ways to feel safer, then we were trying to listen to each other and be like, okay, this is how you need this to be. Let's do it this way. And I'm happy to help you feel more comfortable. And for instance, me, I know that like sometimes climbing on a huge PDL, when you have like 30 feet, 40 feet under you is really scary. So me, what I was trying to do to help Kate at the top block of the nose, for instance, was to jog really fast on the Jumars, because this would mean I would arrive faster on the anchor and I would put her on belay faster and she would be safer. So like there's just like doing a few things that we were always trying to make sure we're keeping each other really safe. And we definitely had the same understanding of what our safety margins were, and that if we needed to change something for one of us to feel more comfortable, then we would just do it.
That's excellent. I mean, gosh, what an amazing gift to find someone who has, because I mean, people have really different risk tolerances. I'm sure you've come across it a bunch. Just, I mean, at my level of climbing, which is very low compared to you all, or just, I mean, backcountry skiing, all of it, that people really do have a huge range. So that's incredible that you two were able to seemingly like very easily integrate with that decision.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why, it took a few years for Kate to find a partner to do that, because it's, there's a tradition in a way in Yosemite. Is like, first you do nose in a day, that's like the first step for speed climbing. And then you do the double, which is climbing El Capitan and Half Dome in a day. And then the final exam of all that is to do the triple, which I never did the double. So this season, we also had for goal to not do the doubles, because this could really take away from our energy. And most people do a Naiad in a season, train for it, and then another season they did the double. Like I saw, Tanner and Mike do it. And then another season they do the triple, and those guys did even the quad because triple was too easy and too fast. So then you take it to another level, which is even more crazy. Like everyone is like, are you doing the quad? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, I think we had 23:36. I'm like, I think I'm good with this one. But it's definitely, that's how it goes. And so me, I didn't even do the double. So that's why it was so special to have Kate as my partner, who had all this double and Naiad experiences. Like I think she had done 16 Naiads, 16 nose in a day.
Wow.
Oh, 18. So it's like crazy experience. And me, when I came into this season, I had done one. So I was just a baby speed climber with no experience. So I think when you combine all her experience and all my free climbing experience, it just made us a great team. And it's really special to find someone, like you said, who has the same risk tolerance, because some women in Yosemite could have speed climb with Kate and she was speed climbing with them, but they were not willing to take that much risk and they were not okay with this. So which means they would go way slower. And Kate was not okay going much above 24 hours for the triple, because once you hit 30 hours and you've been awake for already many hours, then it becomes really dangerous. And then suddenly you go into another night, and Kate knew the risk and she was like, I need someone who goes fast just so as another safety measure, because if you're too slow, you spend way more time on the wall, and that's when the risk expand even more, and it's way more risky. So I think that was another reason why she wanted someone who could go as fast as her and who could take the same amount of risk as well.
Yeah, I mean, speed is safety in so many aspects. And I can tell you, as someone who has been awake many times over 30 hours, it gets weird. There's weird stuff that happens after like 30, 36 hours. Yeah, that second night is... Oh, let me tell you, brutal. The second night is weird. The third night is just like, what planet am I on? Yeah.
Really? What's happening to you? Are you like hallucinating? Because like me, I didn't have any of that on the triple. So I'm wondering what's happening to you on that third night.
Oh yeah. I was hallucinating whole towns of like people camping. Way. Oh yeah. And then one time, this is during, Moab was the main one. I was running, and then all of a sudden I like woke up and realized that I had fallen asleep while running, which is really dangerous with climbing. So that's why, the kind of like differentiation of what you're doing and the technical skill and safety versus me that's like, I can fall asleep on my feet on a dirt road and like, I'm okay. But yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
I want to experience that one day. I want to, maybe not climbing. I'm not saying climbing, but who knows? Maybe, hiking or running and doing, crazy days like this would be crazy, just to experience this and know what it feels like.
It's pretty wild. I mean, I feel like I always try to convince people to do ultras, but I feel like you're primed, kind of the mental piece to be able to do it. So That would
Yeah,
be super
nice.
fun.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah. So what? Well, I guess two parts. Do you have anything, any kind of projects that you're working on right now or coming up that you can share about, or kind of keeping things under wraps?
Maybe keeping things a little under wraps, but what I can say is I'm definitely going back to hard free climbing. That's the goal. It was fun to pull on quick jaws and step on bolts for a little bit, but it's definitely not what I want to do. And I want to have a belayer at the anchor. But I think I'm really into having new projects with other female partners. I think it's so special, and I definitely want to develop that partnership and hopefully support other women's project or join another women's project if I'm being offered that. But I'm also really interested into this whole endurance world, so I'm trying to get a bit more about it because I think that could really help me for big wall free climbing, and I could learn a lot. So I'm trying to get into that, see what I can do. And my favorite playground in Yosemite, so after this summer, after July, I'll go in Squamish again, train there for a month or two, and then be back in Yosemite. So that, at least that's the plan as of today. And then we'll see where life takes me. You never know.
I love it. And then I know we chatted that there is going to be a movie coming out about this. When is that getting released? Where will people be able to watch it?
Yeah, they'll be able to watch it. So definitely in Europe next year, April 2026. But me and Kate will make sure that all of our American friends will be able to see it. We are trying to, have it in a big movie or big climbing festival, at least for the first 2 months of its release. And then we'll try to get it into like smaller, more independent climbing festival afterwards. But definitely, I'll share more once we know it, and we'll have a trailer, and definitely I'll share it with you too. And hopefully you'll be able to watch it and tell me what you think about it. But we're very excited about it.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so glad that you were able to do that. That will be amazing. Yeah, well, Laura, where can people find you, follow your adventures?
I think as of now, probably my Instagram, like Laura Pineau, it's my first and last name directly. That's the best way. Who knows? Maybe, next year we'll have a YouTube channel, or I'll do something else, or I'll just share stories through movies, which I think I really enjoy doing through the triple. And I should be continuing that way. So I think that that's where we're heading as of now, telling stories about climbs that are not done often. And I think I just want to step outside the mainland and the main path and go do things that not many people want to do because it's scary or because it's weird or because why doing it, So I think that's the goal of the upcoming years.
That's amazing. And I guess the last bit, I keep saying this is the last question that's going on, but I have one
No
more
worries.
that I promise. What
No
advice
worries.
would you give to female climbers in particular that are like, I really want to do this, but I'm not sure, maybe I'm not sure how, or can I? Like, yeah, what advice would you give?
I would say first, like, take your time. Like, it doesn't need to happen, in the next few weeks or months. I would say, for me in the triple, it took 8 months of really hard work and full on dedication. So big projects take time, but if you can make a plan for yourself, plan it over 6 months or a year, the training you need to do to achieve your objective, either it's like a first big wall or it is maybe a first multi-pitch. I would say surround yourself with people who have maybe done those challenges before, because you will learn faster and better. Find maybe a woman mentor in your climbing community or in a climbing gym that you really admire or you like as a person, who maybe will have time to show you how to do that. I think that's, mentorship is very important and very valuable. So I think this could help you really achieve your dreams. And choose objectives that scare you. It means it's probably big enough. I think if you think of something and you're like, oh, that's easy, I can do that, then it means, is it big enough? I was scared for the triple, until the day we did it, I wasn't sure. And that objective scared me a lot, which is why I was like, oh, okay, it's probably big enough for me. Like, now time to train, and then you can achieve it. So that would be my advice.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, right before Lavaredo, which I just ran, I said to my friend who was crewing me, I was like, okay, this is the moment where I get really scared, and then it's going to be okay, but like, I'm really scared right now. And yeah, because you're trying to do something hard, and that means it's worthwhile, for sure.
Yeah, and look at you, finish second after Courtney. That's so sick. That's so amazing. Yeah, congrats on that again, because that was really inspiring. And you girls, like ultra trailing, it's like, I think I'm trying to take advice from and learn about that whole outdoor industry in a way of like, how do you prepare yourself? How do you get your nutrition and hydration down? Because for big wall free climbers, I think it's very similar to what you guys are doing and the amount of efforts we're doing over long hours. So really inspired by all of you and just, keep crushing it out there.
Well, thank you. I mean, right back at you. Like seeing when your story came out, I love seeing women take on these challenges. And I do think there's so much fascinating crossover between, the big wall world and the endurance world. So, we'll keep learning from each other and it'll be awesome. So, Laura, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for the movie to come out and to see all of the incredible things that you're going to do in the future and have already done.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alyssa, for the great time and great talk. And I'm sure we'll stay updated and keep each other updated, especially on the movie. And can't wait to watch what you're doing next as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for listening to the Uphill Athlete podcast. If you can rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, that allows us to get more amazing climbers out there in the world and to learn from them. So it's not just one, but a community. We are Uphill Athlete.
One of the most common questions I get is, how should I get started with training? Well, they say the first step is the hardest, so let's make that easy. We are offering free 4-week samples of our most popular training plans for mountaineering, trail running, climbing, and more. Go to uphillathlete.com/letsgo to sign up for our newsletter, and you will not only get monthly insights on training for uphill athletes, but you'll also get a sample training plan. It's totally free, so why wait? That's uphillathlete.com/LETSGO.